Welcome to episode number 10 of the Cinchy learning series. This session is going to be on application experiences, where we're hoping to show you how you can gain a 10 times increase in app development using a data fabric. Our presenters today are going to be Dan DeMers, the CEO and co-founder of Cinchy, as well as Mitesh Kapadia. Mitesh is one of our Cinchy solution architects. He's an entrepreneur and a technology leader who brings a unique combination of professional experience over the last 15 years. He specializes in pre-sales and helping customers understand the value of adopting game-changing technologies. As a reminder to all of you, the session is being recorded and will be available on demand for you to not only listen yourself, but also to share within your community. When you're sharing out really good learning like this, it elevates the entire community. So we really welcome you to share that amongst your peers. And finally, in terms of questions, feel free to interrupt if you have something that's burning and you want to make sure that Dan and Mitesh are able to answer it. They will also pause and allow for questions. And finally, if you're more comfortable with just leaving a message in the chat, I will be monitoring that chat and making sure that Dan and Mitesh have an opportunity to hear what else you would like to hear. So over to you, Dan. We'll let you lead away from here.
All right. Thank you, Joanne. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Able to see that okay?
I can, thank you.
Okay. As Joanne mentioned, this is a part of the learning series, episode 10. So we have the prior 9 episodes that are available at Cinchy.tv, covering various topics that go into a lot more depth than you'd get in a single conversation. So last week we covered data synchronization, how to move data in and out of your data fabric. So today we're going to be covering application experiences, which is really what we see as inevitably the future of applications, where they become decoupled from data, and how to essentially enable the delivery of business capabilities with rich experiences in a lot less time for a lot less cost, a lot less complexity. So that's the theme of today. So we'll have some slides to cover just at a conceptual level, and then I'm actually going to hand it over to Mitesh to give a live demo of one such experience. We're actually going to showcase CinchyTV, which is itself an experience, and then we'll open it up to questions. But as Joanne mentioned, please do just stop us, interrupt at any time if any questions surface as we're talking through. So I mentioned previously that one of our ideas of the future is that the app of the future actually does not own data. So if you look at how we architect systems today, it's very app-centric, where the data is subservient to an application. And the data living inside of the application is what causes all the fragmentation, which forces us to do integration and all the other byproducts. So if you think of what the data fabric and collaborative intelligence is really doing, is it's just separating data from applications. They're two separate things. Data should be essentially a utility that applications can interface with, but they don't own the data. It doesn't exist in the app. It's separate and distinct. So what is an app then? Well, the app still is the end user experience, whether it's a human or a system that's interacting with that data through a controlled experience. So by using the term application experience, it really signals that it's still the same end experience. So to an end user, let's say a customer or an employee, it's going to look and feel and smell like an application. But to the builder, it's little more than a thin skin that's sitting on top of the fabric, where the fabric is providing a lot of the complexity of managing the data, protecting the data, connecting the data that builder would typically need to do. So the translation here is that they can spend a lot less time and deliver a lot more. And to the end customer is they get a much richer, more connected experience. So that's the idea of what an application experience is in concept, and where it fits into the overall architecture of the platform. It's really in this human interface layer. That's where we're going to concentrate today. So in the human interface, we have the metadata-driven experience, and that won't be the theme of today, but we'll touch on that just briefly, because it does play a role when you're thinking about an application experience. And then the ability to create custom application experiences within an experience framework. And these experiences, as I mentioned, are skins that interact with the data, not directly, but through the application interface, where they're leveraging the APIs, the universal data query, the universal data controls and governance. All of that is now automated. Think of that as the way that the UI interacts with the data utility. That's the middle broker there. And we've covered how to build APIs and some of the control aspects in past sessions. And then that in turn, of course, is interacting with the actual data, be it virtualized or physical autonomous data, where you're benefiting from plasticity. So again, today we're going to focus on what these things are here, an application experience. So first of all, what does an application experience actually look like? So I put some screen grabs in here just to give an example, but honestly, the answer is it can look like whatever you imagine an application look like today. It could be mobile, it could be AR, it could be VR, it could be web, it could be, doesn't matter, because you're actually building the skin in a non-proprietary way. You don't build that inside of your fabric. You build it and then wire it to your fabric as the way of doing that. So we're going to show you how you actually go about doing the wiring today. But I'll just show you some examples of ones that are in an environment that I can just do a quick showcase. So here's our environment, and I've basically just filtered for some experiences. You can see I have 8 that I have bookmarked, and I already just opened these just so I can kind of go through them fairly quickly. I'm not going to cover any of these in great depth, but just to show you the diversity of the type of experiences you can build. So here's one that renders the organizational chart of our company, and it's essentially a skin on top of our HR system, which itself is managed as autonomous data, but it allows me to visualize based on reporting lines, and I can see who works for who, and I could zoom out, and I can collapse and expand, and I can click and I can make edits to things. So it's just allowing me to visualize that data, but that skin is just a skin sitting on top of an employee's data set. The controls and everything, all that's just built in to the data itself, and the skin has no choice but to respect that. It's under the constraints imposed by the owner of that data. So there's one quick example. Another one, and this is one that we just built for demo purposes, because we're not actually a bank, we don't actually offer mortgages, but we built a digital loan experience where customers of the hypothetical Cinchy bank can apply for a mortgage. So this is a web form, but this could be a mobile form. This particular one was just built in plain old HTML with JavaScript using our SDK that Mitesh will walk through today. But you can see as I go through, it's just filling out an application. It knows who I am. But then there's another experience, which is for the employee of the hypothetical Cinchy bank that allows them to review those applications, open up an application, look at the details, verify income with the government, look at all the details, even comment and talk amongst other loan officers, see the predicted probability of this mortgage ending in default, ultimately approve or reject it. Again, this is just another skin on top of that data. The loan officer doesn't have the ability to approve a loan that they submitted, because they may also be a client of the hypothetical bank, and the applicant doesn't have the ability to self-approve or do anything that they don't have access to. All that, again, is not in the skin. It's not in the code. It's at the data layer itself. The skin is essentially the canvas that is being painted, but the paint is all data, where it has all the controls built in. So there's another example of an experience. You've seen this one before in past sessions. This actually is one of the experiences that comes pre-packaged with the platform that allows you to visualize the interconnected fabric and see how all the data relates to each other, where you're looking at it in the context of a user. So this is me and what I have access to, and I can, grab all of my HR data and I can kind of experience it visually. Well, this is, again, just an experience. It actually started off with us having a co-op student initially build it for our own internal use, and we decided after showcasing it to a couple of customers that it was actually very valuable, so we actually included that as a pre-built experience that you can now actually even customize. But this is just an example of an experience. It's just powered by data. In this case, it happens to be metadata, but metadata is still data. So same thing here. And the other experience that I'll showcase is one that we had some co-op students build in a past term, and it's pretty cool. It's actually an augmented reality version of that very same visualizer. So I'm just going to play this. This is a video that's on CinchyTV, just because it's hard to show augmented reality in a live setting. So I'm just going to play this video. I'm going to turn off the audio. It has some funky music if you want to listen to it after. But so there's the visualizer that you saw before. So this is just a pre-recorded thing. And there's a Surface tablet that's running an application that was built in Unity that essentially takes the same metadata and creates an augmented reality experience around that. So it's running within her context, so she's seeing what she has access to, but it's the very same fabric. This was done at a point in time, though. So it was what she had access to at that moment in time, and everything scaled proportionally. And everything that you're seeing here was built in a completely non-proprietary way. So the building of the experience, how do I make it so that I can touch and drag? All that is just whatever technology is being used to create that skin, that experience. Where Cinchy kicked in and where the fabric was it was the middle and back, essentially, which would generally be the bulk of your IT cost, no matter what type of experience you're building. So that's the idea of an experience. Any questions on anything so far before we actually go and double click on an experience and actually look at the code behind it? The bell means I should go on. Okay, so I'm going to actually hand it over to Mitesh, and he's going to share his screen and walk you through how do you actually build an application experience. So we're going to showcase CinchyTV as a really quick and dirty example of that really illustrates just how quick and not dirty it is. But Mitesh, I'll hand it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Dan, and good morning, everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Rest everyone should see my screen right now. I'm actually, let me just move this over here. So I'm on Cinchy.tv. So we recently started this new application experience, and this is something we just brought out a couple months ago. So we want to be able to showcase to everybody, what we do here at Cinchy, not only Cinchy the company, but what we do with Cinchy the platform. So eventually this is actually going to eat up our website, because we want everyone to understand what we're doing and give you a whole new experience of engaging with Cinchy the company. So go ahead and check out Cinchy.tv anytime you have a chance, and feel free to have a look at what we have here. So you'll see stuff as like how-to guides of how to do things within the platform, as you saw from Dan, previous learning series episodes, other videos about our funding rounds, etc. I'm actually going to move over now to a development environment and show you how we were able to build this in only 7 hours, and how we did this using basic front-end technology, letting the data fabric handle the middle and back end. So I'm going to shift over here to my local development environment. So you guys will see I'm running a local host. I've got my server going. I've got my code going. And really all this is this is a basic front-end HTML website using CSS and some Angular code. And over here on the left side, I've got a bunch of tags. And here I've got all the different videos that we have. We have 35 different videos. I can go ahead and filter by different tags if I want to see architecture and awards, and when we're in the news and the learning series. And all we're doing is filtering this front end here, which is essentially serving up all the different videos that we have. So what's happening behind the background here? Well, let's take a deeper look. If you look at my code over here, really the HTML component for the videos is essentially just showing me, it's looping through all the videos that we have into a video container. And within this video container, for every video item, I'm showing a bunch of content. So I want to show, the image of the video, an overlay, put a little play icon in there. I like to show the title, the date, and the description. If I come back to the website, you'll see that's exactly what we're doing here. I've got the image, the play button, the title, the date, and the description. So how's it getting this information? How am I able to have such a simple front-end experience here and having the middle and back end handled by Cinchy? Well, what's happening is that we're actually calling a REST API endpoint to go ahead and serve the videos back to me from the fabric. So you'll see I have two different API endpoints here, one called get all videos and one get all videos by tags. And this really behind the scenes is just a query within Cinchy. So you've probably seen from Dan previously, I'll show you right now. You can create a query very easily within the fabric, and that query automatically doubles as a REST API endpoint. So how do we do that? Let me show you. I come back over here to Cinchy, You guys saw Dan showing you the production environment of our Cinchy instance. Well, I can go ahead and search for Cinchy.tv within the fabric and actually pinpoint the subnetwork that we use within our existing connected fabric to service this application. So I've got videos. Videos are tied to tags. Videos are also tied to playlists. So very, very simple structure. If I go in here and I can actually click on the videos, I can go ahead and open the videos in here as well. So now we're actually drilling down into the videos table that's essentially serving the backend for my entire application experience. Within this video table, this is just a standard table. So it's a bunch of rows and columns. You'll see that I've got the publish date, the title, a number of different tags, the description, the video link, the image URL, and a few more items. And all I did here was just create a net new table. So I give this table a name, give it an icon, put it into a domain, and then we're creating columns. So as you saw, we have publish date, I've got title, tags is actually a collection. So this is a multi-select. I've got the description, video link, and I can go ahead and add another demo test column right here and just save this, right? So now I'm just extending the model, and this is not going to affect anything. So once it's saved, you'll see all the data in here again. And now what we're doing essentially is allowing our marketing team to go into this table and now update this information. So all the workflows around uploading content, uploading data, uploading the descriptions, approving it, all the workflows are handled by Cinchy, the platform. And I don't have to build new UIs or new workflows and processes to handle that. So if I wanted to go into episode 9 and let's say change data synchronization to this data sync, I could do that. So you can see I made the change to the fabric. There's a change request pending. Go in here, I can actually approve this row. By approving this and come back to Cinchy.tv, you'll see that data synchronization is now called data sync. All of the tables that we have full control, so I can control exactly who could access this, who could design it, who can control it, who could view data, who can approve columns and all that kind of stuff. The entire controls and persistence is handled by the fabric itself. So how did I create that query which gave me that REST API endpoint? Well, I can search my entire fabric for CinchyTV. This shows me all the tables and queries that I have that are related to the CinchyTV experience. So you saw the videos table, we have a tags table, a playlist table, but we also have a couple of queries. So I've got the get all videos query and the get all videos by tags query. These look familiar. If I come back to my code, I've got the get all videos and the get all videos by tags. So let's just go into the get all videos. Open this up. You see this is just doing a query that's returning all the videos that I have in my videos table. If I go to design the query, you can see anyone who's done SQL before knows how simple this is. This is literally saying, hey, show me these columns from this table and order it by the publish date. So we go ahead and we give that a name, we save it. I give it an API result format because once I save this and the query executes, I automatically have a no-code REST API endpoint that I can now use to serve from my application experience. You can see this is coming back in JSON, and I'm getting all the different episode information coming back in this format. Now we also had the other query, the get videos by tags. So let's open up this one as well. This is doing the same thing, but taking it one step further. So I'm doing the exact same query, getting all the different columns I want to see. However, I'm adding an additional where clause saying show me all the tags that are for this specific category. So I can go ahead and run this. And I know the learning series ID is 1. Submit this. Now I'm doing a filtered query based on the tag. And this also has a no-code REST API endpoint. So I didn't have to do any work to create this endpoint. I got it for free. When I open this up, you'll see now I'm getting the same result set back in JSON format. And if I wanted to see, I think the how-to videos are 42. So yeah, so now I pass in a different ID, and now I'm getting the how-to videos back as well. Now the beauty here, guys, is that the application experience, the CinchyTV experience, is completely decoupled from the data. So even if I were to do something like go to my videos table and change something around drastically, the concept of plasticity that Dan talked about before, we still benefit from that. So I can go into here and change this column name to like column name X. I can change transcript to transcript for video. I can change the title 1, 2, 3. Update the column here to 1, 2, 3. I can even go ahead and actually change this entire video's name to videos XYZ and just save this. So now I've actually mucked around with the underlying table that I'm using to serve the application experience. But when you come back to the APIs, you'll see that the APIs still work perfectly. There's no issues here. Come back to the website, still works, because we're not breaking the contracts. I've completely decoupled what I'm doing in the fabric from the application experience that I'm building. So coming back to my code, if I refresh this over here, you'll see the exact same updates. You'll see that now this is called data sync, and everything still works perfectly. So now I can actually focus on what I want to do. I want to focus on building the front-end experience, or whatever that experience is. Here, we're doing a front-end experience in Angular and JavaScript and the HTML. But again, as Dan mentioned, this could be an iOS app, this could be Android, this could be VR, this could be voice, it could be any experience. So I can just focus on what I want to do. So let's say I wanted to take out this top bar, and then I'll lose this button. So maybe I'll change this button to say book a demo now or something. So let's, what do I have here? So I can change this to get rid of the top bar. Change my button here to say book a demo now. So I save this, server's running, and refresh this. The top bar will go away, and you see the button here says book a demo now. So again, really being able to focus everything on what that application experience is, decoupling it from the data in the background and allowing the fabric to be that middle and back end that allows me to accelerate my development. As you can see, I didn't have to spend any time here focusing on building screens so that our marketing team can go in and upload videos and change things around, have workflows. I didn't have to do any of that kind of stuff. I didn't have to stand up another database. I leveraged the existing fabric, and that allowed me to build this and allow the team to build this in 7 hours, versus what would have traditionally been probably 40 hours plus.
Mitesh, actually, just a couple of quick questions.
Yes, of course.
When you're editing the code, which editor are you using? So you're building the middle and back on Cinchy, but then the front end code, in this case, which IDE are you using?
I'm using Visual Studio here. So you could use anything, right? So you could use any IDE, you can use any standard front-end technologies. The key here is we don't offer a low code or a no code platform. You don't need to learn anything Cinchy proprietary at all. So whatever it is that you guys use, if you use Notepad, if you use another IDE, you could do whatever you want. If you're familiar with .NET or you're familiar with Angular or React, whatever you guys want, you guys can build in that. You're not tied to anything Cinchy specific to get that done. And on that note, actually, thank you, Dan. I wanted to point out that we have the Cinchy SDKs. So to make your development a lot easier, we do have a couple SDKs available on GitHub. We have the JavaScript SDK as well as the Angular SDK. They're both extremely similar, and we can just kind of walk through some of this. Of course, we have installation instructions, how to import the libraries. Let's get into some of the fun stuff here.
Among clarification, you don't need to use this SDK because the contract between the front and the middle is fully standardized over REST. So these SDKs, they're provided, we've open sourced them, they're provided just for convenience. It just makes it easier, frankly, for JavaScript to be able to invoke REST endpoints. But you do not need to do that. There's nothing proprietary about the contract. And while Mitesh was showing using Angular and HTML and JavaScript, you could easily use even a low-code platform as a front end. So some of our customers use technologies like OutSystems and Power Apps and other things to build rapid front-end skins that, again, can benefit from the complex part of building software, the middle and back, where that now becomes very simple.
Thanks, Dan. So I'll pass it back to you to finish the presentation.
Yeah, let me take back the share. You can see my screen again, I hope.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this really just articulates what the effort was on the right in terms of actually doing the initial iteration on that. So truthfully, there's probably been another few hours that have been spent since that to fix some of the colors, etc. But the initial go live was 7 hours, of which 6 were built, spent writing Angular code in a completely non-proprietary way. If we didn't have Cinchy, that still would have taken 6 hours. So Cinchy didn't help or hurt that. It didn't introduce any proprietary coupling to that. But the other half of the UI that didn't need to be built was the management interface. So for the marketing team to be able to manage the videos, to have a workflow, to be able to publish that, to be able to have auditability and traceability, and a publishing workflow, like a content management system, essentially. Whereas if we needed to build the screens for that, that would have been definitely more than 0 minutes. That would have taken quite a bit. We'd estimate about 30 hours. So on the right, it's the actual spend. On the left, it's really just I call it a guesstimate. A lot of it depends on who builds it and whatnot, but plus or minus 100%, it's still an order of magnitude acceleration. So what's happening is it's simplifying the user experience. The API development was 0 because the process of simply building the queries builds the APIs for you, whereas traditionally you build the queries and then you build the APIs, and the APIs have code. And in this particular case, this is a very simple example of an application. It didn't have any automation logic. If it did, then that would have been loosely equal on both sides. The control logic, of course, is built into the fabric. It handles that. You don't have to write any code or logic for controls, versioning, identity management, access controls. All that stuff is automagic. The building of the queries and filters, loosely about the same. And the creation of the model, you can say loosely about the same. But as Mitesh mentioned, we didn't need to obtain a database and procure a database and configure the database. The fabric was already there. We just simply logged in and created the solution. It was as simple as that. So the translation here is about a week to a day. And that's the kind of acceleration that you would expect for something that has a UI of which some of which you still need to do custom. If you don't need any custom screens, like if it's an internal experience, often you can get even more acceleration. And what you're seeing really is just one of the different design patterns that you could loosely put every application, i.e. application experience, into. So whether you're building a new business application, where you're putting your fabric as your front end in combination with application experiences, where you're going to need that interoperability with existing applications, or if you're replacing spreadsheets, or if you're adding capabilities on top of existing applications, or if you're adding applications on top of an existing lake or warehouse to app enable your insights, or you're managing reference data, or building a central data sharing utility for applications, a data hub, or mastering data, or building a self-service marketplace. These are all just different experienced design patterns, if you're familiar with that concept, for the developers amongst you. So next week, we're going to cover revenue intelligence. So we're going to give some visibility into how our chief sales officer actually uses the platform and builds on the platform to give us kind of unprecedented operational intelligence when we think about our sales end-to-end process.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Mitesh. Appreciate you guys coming to this week's session. And as Dan said, everything is available for you to connect with us. We offer as well, if you have a team that wants to just have a personal deep dive on a bit of a custom learning session, you can also arrange that with us as well. You can just do that through the cinchy.com/demo, and we'd be happy to have a more customized learning session for you. In terms of this being available, it will be available on demand just later on this afternoon. So we'll be sending that out an email for all of you to be able to look at as well. I've also put the link for episode 11 right in the chat, so you can just press on that and sign up for next week's right away.